Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're taking a really fascinating and honestly deeply empathetic look at the biology and psychology behind our emotions. Specifically, we're looking at this super frustrating phenomenon, why our tears sometimes just get stuck, like completely stuck. If you've ever felt that absolute desperate need for an emotional release, but your body just wouldn't cooperate, yeah, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to unpack exactly why this happens and how you can gently guide yourself back to emotional balance. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at when tears won't come. Then we'll uncover the 4 mental roadblocks. Next, we'll go over coaxing the tears back. And finally, we'll talk about the first drop. Section 1. When tears won't come. So I want you to take a second and just picture a scene. Maybe you're at a heartbreaking goodbye, maybe it's a funeral, or honestly just sitting on your couch watching a profoundly sad movie. The mood is super heavy, right? And an emotional response is entirely expected. Have you ever been in that exact situation and felt like an absolute desert, while literally everyone around you is a waterfall of emotion? Man, it is an incredibly isolating feeling, because you feel the sadness. You feel that intense pressure building up in your chest. You get that familiar, tight lump in your throat. But the tears, they just will not come. And look, it's absolutely crucial to understand. This isn't because you don't care. It's actually because your body seems to have, well, completely lost the password to its own emotional release. And this brilliantly illustrates the core of the whole misunderstanding. There's this massive gap between societal expectations and actual biology here. On one side, we've got the societal myth, this pervasive idea that crying is a measure of weakness or that holding it in makes you strong. But the biological reality? Crying is simply a necessary pressure release valve for your system. We really need to completely reframe how we view tears. When that valve gets stuck, it is absolutely not a character flaw, not at all. It's just a biological signal that something much deeper is happening beneath the surface. Let's cement this definition right now. Crying is a basic biological function. It's exactly like sneezing when you get dust in your nose or laughing when something's hilarious. It is physically engineered to release pressure from your emotional system. Think of it this way. Losing the ability to cry is kind of like having a totally full bladder but being physically unable to find a bathroom. The pressure is incredibly real, and it is just overwhelmingly uncomfortable. Your body is desperately trying to relieve the pressure, but the mechanism is just jammed. Section 2. The 4 mental roadblocks. Okay, so why does the valve jam in the first place? Well, we can trace this to 4 specific mental roadblocks. Roadblock number 1 is conditioning. For a lot of us, especially men, crying was either implicitly or explicitly discouraged growing up. We were told tears mean weakness, you gotta be strong. Think of a character like Steve Harrington from Stranger Things. He starts off as this cool, totally detached jock who wouldn't be caught dead crying. Well, over time, when you act like that, your brain actually learns to suppress the crying reflex entirely. The emotion doesn't just vanish, it gets locked away in the dark basement of your mind. You don't stop feeling the sadness, you just stop showing it. Moving to roadblock number 2, emotional burnout. This is perfectly captured by the quote, "Nope, we're all out of crisis, we're running on emergency power." This happens after long stretches of extreme stress, grief, or trauma. Your nervous system gets so unbelievably taxed that it basically shuts down all non-essential functions just to conserve basic energy. Even though crying is a healthy release, your body still categorizes the act of crying as a crisis response. So if you've been in crisis mode for months, or maybe even years, your body simply refuses to expend the energy. You feel everything all at once, and your whole system has just short-circuited. Our third roadblock is a deep-seated fear of losing control. For some people, crying feels exactly like opening Pandora's box. There's this absolutely terrifying belief that if you let yourself shed even one tear, you'll never, ever be able to stop. You're afraid you'll just dissolve into a messy heap and won't be able to function in your normal day-to-day life. Imagine you're a tightrope walker, delicately balancing on your own precarious emotions. You're completely terrified that a single tear is the gust of wind that's going to send you plummeting right off the wire. And the fourth roadblock is the freeze trauma response. We always hear about fight or flight, but there's actually a third response, freeze. When an emotion like intense, heavy grief or fear feels simply too massive for your brain to process, it can essentially slam on the brakes. You become completely emotionally immobilized. And it's so vital to realize that this is a profound defense mechanism. Your mind is actively protecting you from something it views as an existential threat. So you aren't being cold, you're not unfeeling, you are literally in a state of emotional shock. Section 3. Coaxing tears back. So the crucial point is, how do we get out of this dry, incredibly frustrating place and actually fix the jammed valve? Well, we have a clear, gentle 3-step roadmap. Create a safe space, start with the body, and use a proxy. But real quick, I want to remind you of something super important. The goal here is not to force some dramatic movie-style breakdown. No, the goal is simply to create a sense of safety for your nervous system. Let's look at how we actually do that. Step 1 is all about creating that safe space. Crying is a deeply, intensely vulnerable act, and your body absolutely will not do it if it doesn't feel safe. It just won't. You have to give your nervous system explicit permission to finally let its guard down. So find a time when you are completely alone. Dim the lights to bring down the sensory input, throw on a piece of music that really moves you, or turn on that one specific movie that always tugs at your heartstrings. You are literally setting the physical stage for emotional safety. Now, step 2 is fascinating. Start with the body, not the mind. Do not just sit there and try to force your brain into feeling sad. It doesn't work. Instead, focus entirely on physical release. Take a few deep, heavy, sighing breaths, the exact kind of breath you take when you are just utterly exhausted. Gently roll your neck and your shoulders. Why? Well, because you have to release the physical tension where your emotions literally get stored in your muscles. Often, the body has to lead the way so the mind knows it's safe to follow. And step 3, use a proxy. If you find that you just cannot cry for your own situation, cry for something else. Cry for a tragic character in a book. Cry because a piece of classical music is just overwhelmingly beautiful. Or honestly, simply hold a pillow really tightly to your chest and cry into it. I know it might sound a bit strange, but this brilliantly allows you to bypass those strict mental blocks we talked about. You're giving the pain a much-needed physical outlet, even if that outlet isn't pointed directly at your own personal trauma quite yet. Section 4, the first drop. As we start to wrap up this explainer, let's slow down for a second and really reflect on this. Please, if you take anything away from today, internalize this. Tears are not a sign of weakness. They are a profound sign of your humanity. They are literally the rain that allows the seeds of new growth and healing to emerge. So, whether your tears are flowing freely right now, or if they're still locked away in that dark basement of your mind, please know that your feelings are entirely valid. Finding a way to gently let them out, even just a tiny bit at a time, that is an incredible act of bravery. Which brings us to this final, powerful thought. It's not about the flood. It's about the first drop. You don't need to fix everything all at once. You definitely don't need to unleash a waterfall today. So I want to leave you with this question.